100%. Their working 100% will serve to justify the system that you live in. Because it will indicate to those who don't think well that there's nothing wrong with the system, but only wrong with the people. Or that we don't have to change the system because we have this magic bullet, we give this magic injection, and voila, the person is better, and the system continues. And it goes on, and a whole lot of social workers, psychologists, and others have jobs. And the whole industry continues to exist. 5 minutes. So the media blinds us to other possibilities. It makes us feel guilty. And the thing I wanted to say about this is, when those of us who are oppressed accept the ideology of individualism and accept this issue that it is the family that is the cause of the problem, we a lot of us saying that too. We've fallen into this broken black family trap and this black family issue. But the final causal thing is not the family. The family itself reflects other problems in the system, you see. But if you accept the family as the ultimate explanation of what is happening to us and our children, or you accept individual deficiencies as the ultimate explanation, when your family does not succeed, or when members fail, or when you yourself do not succeed, you're going to be then motivated toward what? Self-blame, self-negation, self-alienation, self-hatred, loss of self-confidence. And when you see a lot of people your same color, you're going to start hating your race because you think it's intrinsic to the whole group. And it's that ideology that got you. And now you see that ideology itself begins to create an attitude toward the self, toward others, and that attitude itself creates further attitudes, you see. And now the psychologist comes in and says, we have a bunch of people here who exhibit attitudes of self-hatred, self-alienation, lack of self-confidence, low aspirations. And it must be then the low aspirations that are the causes, that's the cause of their problems. We have a family here that we know, if you look at the black family, if you look at it in terms of income, those families earning above $50,000 a year, 96% of them are intact. Husband, wife, children. Above 25, 30,000, 85% are intact. What are we saying here then? That there's a relation between income and intactness, if you value that. And that as you drop, the lower you drop in income, the more you're going to have people not being married in intact families. But what are we going to make that? And when you see families breaking up, often they're breaking up because of economic problems in many instances. But then what are we going to say? And these problems themselves create feelings of guilt and anger and the other kind of thing. And then you go in and you see these people filled with anger, see these people who've been trying to get employed now giving up, and we're going to say it's their apathy, it's their anger, it's this and that that is causal of the problem. You understand? And we have to be very aware of this kind of thing. And this belief in individualism that makes us feel guilty, and guilt, of course, will often create overcompensation. People who are trying to now deny reality and get engaged in narcotics and other kinds of things to deal with it. It would produce anger. We feel we've been betrayed by our families. So it means that often the images projected by the media are dysfunctional, or create dysfunction themselves. And we have to watch this kind of thing. You got a lot of nonsense. How many of you watch Little Family on what is it, on the Prairie? What was it called? What is it called? What was that show called? Little House on the Prairie. You know, some people you couldn't tear away from Little House on the Prairie because it was so sweet, wasn't it? And the little Waltons. A potent mythology. Just a potent mythology. It is individuals who settle the West. Can you believe that kind of nonsense? People with individual drive settle the West. Crazy. Individual families who built their little log cabins out there had fought off the Indians and supported each other. You're out of your minds. Out of your minds to believe that kind of nonsense. First of all, the West was inhabited by nations, and by nations of people already had families there. And what did you need? A whole army that went out there and destroyed the Indian nations and destroyed family life. And these are the same jokers and the descendants of these jokers that try to tell you about family. When they destroyed whole nations of family, when they destroyed the African family, bringing us into enslavement, and they dared to even lecture us about family. The U.S. government, including the Buffalo Soldiers out there clearing the West for these families. Let's deal with it. Building railroads for these families. Giving away land to the railroad companies. 20 miles on each side of the railroad the U.S. government gave to the railroad companies. You got to learn the history here, ladies and gentlemen. I keep telling us we've got to understand what's going on. Quick, that thing here. Why are the Koreans and Korea ahead its nation and people? Is it because of their family values? You got a lot of that nonsense too, you know. Oh, they have strong family values. They stick together. We hear that a good deal too. They're willing to work long hours. And the Japanese are industrious. They have Confucian values. They're a homogeneous family. Ask yourself this question. They've had those values for 10,000 years. Why hadn't they entered the technological age before, 40 years ago? Why weren't they ahead of the Europeans in entering the technological age and so forth? If those are the main values and the reasons why they have technological advances today, why have they only advanced in the last 20, 30, 40 years? You know why? Because of the relationship of the United States government with these countries. You sit around here and you support these Koreans. The Koreans should be bringing you gifts. That's right. As many as our black men died on the soil of Korea to protect these Koreans. And these Koreans could have enjoyed the privileges of America that these black men could not enjoy at the time they fought the war. That's right, I saw them go off to war, and I saw them come back in boxes. And I was right there when they had the black fountains and the white fountains and the segregated counters and all the other stuff. The same thing the North Koreans or the Chinese could have enjoyed even at that moment. This nation invested the lives of black people in that nation. And they invested in the war in that nation. They took black folks' tax money, shipped it over there, and invested millions and millions of dollars in that land, even in war, and gave the Japanese contracts for making the army trucks that were used in the war. Don't come telling me about any industriousness of Japanese people. You understand? But they want to run this game on you. And then after the black tax money and black tax lives were given to protect the Koreans and are still there today to protect the South Koreans, for what reason? To make South Korea safe for private investment, so that private white businessmen could have a safe territory to invest their money and wealth in. And then the United States government, with black people's tax money, made sure that the South Korean government was stabilized, even to the point of maintaining a dictatorship, to make certain that white businessmen would not fear investing and in that country, for fear that the government would change and they would lose their investment. And there are black men and women standing there to make sure that that government is stabilized, so that white men can safely invest in this nation. And then black money, tax money, goes in and builds the infrastructures, the highways and the railroads and the other things of South Korea. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you want to fall for the baloney that these people are here because they work long hours. They come back with your tax money and the lives of your men and stand in your face and insult you. And then you're going to fall for a stupid ideology that talks about that they are here because they have some individual and family drives. You've got to be out of your mind to believe it. The same thing goes on with the Japanese, rebuilt by U.S. money, built on the lives of black men. Europe, Marshall Plan, rebuilt with U.S. money and tax money, built on the lives of black men, built on the fact that money was shipped over there by the tons, and then they come back over here and tell you that if you ask the government for one nickel, something is wrong with you. That you shouldn't demand any special relationship with the U.S. government. You shouldn't demand that the U.S. government lend special favors to you. Do you know why the U.S. Navy is in the oceans? Do you think it's to protect America? The U.S. Navy is in the oceans to protect private enterprise, to make sure that the white investment money and the merchandise that's involved in that money is safeguarded. In other words, the U.S. Navy rides shotgun for private investment. If we were so doggone caught up about the government not doing any special favors, then we should tell these rich folk, you protect your own cargo as it moves across the oceans. And yet if that United Nations States Navy, again stocked by black men and women, and the armies were not out there, you'd have a new old crime recreated. That crime being what? Piracy. None of these nations would be seeing those ships laden with all that wealth floating by unguarded. But then they come back again and tell you that you shouldn't demand any special control of your community or of your life, or you shouldn't expect any special contribution to the growth and development of your economic wealth in America. And we got a bunch of black jokers who want to argue that in our faces.